as mentioned earlier, more classified documents were found over the weekend in Wilmington, Delaware, home of President Joe Biden. And joining us now to talk more about this and more is Nate Hochman, staff writer for the National Review. Nate, great to see you today. First off, your take on the president's classified document scandal, which seems to be growing day by day.
Right. I mean, we've had multiple searches turn up classified documents now in Biden's homes, and I think that it just sort of highlights how hypocritical Biden's condemnations of the exact same thing practically were when he was going after Donald Trump. I think it's obvious that there very well might be some criminal conduct involved in this situation, and I think the president has a real political scandal on his hands, particularly because of his comments very recently about a similar situation with Donald Trump.
Nate, your thoughts on how the White House is addressing all of this?
Well, look, the Biden administration wants to project publicly the image that they're cooperating with law enforcement. But of course, really, that's because trying to avoid appointing a kind of special counsel would probably result in much more politically devastating results for the Biden administration, because then you'd actually have a judge go get a warrant and you'd have FBI raids even potentially of Joe Biden's house. So his public image of actually cooperating with law enforcement is really just because the alternative would be worse. And it's political crisis management at this point.
Yeah, and now even some Democrats are criticizing the president's mishandling of those documents. Where do you see this going? And do you think the president should be concerned?
Absolutely, he should be concerned, particularly, again, because one of the big sort of calling cards that he had in one of his presumptive 2024 rivals, Donald Trump, was that Joe Biden was kind of the person who was ethical with regards to an issue like this, and Donald Trump wasn't. Now he has a very obvious example of hypocrisy on his hands, and he also has a real potential example of criminal conduct when it comes to classified documents. So he should be absolutely worried. And I think Democrats, too, who were very, very strong in their condemnations of a similar situation with Donald Trump, should be worried. You have at least two Democratic senators, Tim Kaine and Joe Manchin, who we should give credit for, who actually called for an investigation. But there's a lot of silence from a lot of Democrats who are certainly not silent about a similar situation down in Mar-a-Lago.
Nate, real quick, we have probably less than 30 seconds left, but I really quickly want to get your take on Ron Klain stepping down as chief of staff. What do you think this signals?
Yeah, I had a friend that joked that this is the first time a sitting president has stepped down in the middle of his term since Richard Nixon. Ron Klain was someone who, in many ways, was the sort of unofficial leader of the Biden administration. He was the architect of a lot of the major legislative wins that the Biden administration had. And I think it could be a massive sort of shift in the administration if the person who replaces him has a different philosophy than Klain himself.
Yeah, should be interesting to see what happens next. Nate, great to be with you as always. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.